Whispers in the void-riven Talos leaned against the viewport of his ship, the wayward echo, watching the crystalline moon of Nahara grow larger in the distance. Its surface glittered with prismatic cities that caught the light of 3 distant suns, fracturing it into kaleidoscopic patterns. Beautiful, if you didn't know what lived there. Empaths, mind readers, the evolved. His fingers absently traced the neural dampener at his temple, standard protection for humans entering Neharan space. The small device hummed against his skin, a constant reminder of the unnatural divide between his kind and theirs. Approaching Neharan airspace, his ship's AI announced. Customs will require identification and cargo manifest. Riven grimaced, glancing at the sealed container strapped to his cargo hold. Just stick to the cover story, Iris. Medical supplies for the outpost in Sector 7. The manifest was perfect. He'd paid enough to ensure that. What the document didn't show was the small artifact nestled among the legitimate supplies, a crystalline shard no larger than his palm that pulsed with an inner light when touched.
His employer had been clear. Deliver it to Lyra Nix.
A reclusive empath, living in the abandoned research station at the moon's northern pole, and asked no questions. The pay was enough to clear his debts and disappear. One last job. After clearing the surprisingly lax customs inspection, Riven piloted his ship toward the northern territories, a frigid wilderness of crystal formations and abandoned outposts.
Few ventured this far from the main settlements, perfect for someone who didn't want to be found. The research station appeared on his scanners.
A series of domes connected by tunnels, half buried in crystalline snow. As he landed, Riven felt a strange pressure building behind his eyes, a whisper of something foreign brushing against his consciousness despite the dampener. Someone's scanning the ship, he muttered, checking his sidearm before sealing his thermal jacket.
Keep engines hot, Iris,
Acknowledged. Thermal signatures indicate a single life form in the main dome. The air bit at his face as he stepped outside, the artifact secure in his inner pocket. Crystal snowflakes drifted lazily in the thin atmosphere, each one unique and perfect. The pressure in his mind increased with each step toward the main dome. The airlock cycled open before he could reach for it. "You're late, smuggler." The woman standing in the doorway wasn't what he expected. Tall and graceful, with skin the color of burnished copper, and hair that seemed to shift between deep blue and violet in the light. But it was her eyes that froze him in place, iridescent silver that swirled like liquid mercury, pupils ringed with a glow that seemed to pierce right through him. "The neural dampener won't help you here," she said, her voice melodic but cool. "I designed this place to neutralize them." "I prefer honesty between business partners." The pressure in his mind intensified, and Riven felt memories rising unbidden. The war, the faces of those he couldn't save. The real reason he'd been discharged from service. "Stop," he growled, fighting the intrusion. Lyra Nix tilted her head, studying him with those impossible eyes. "Interesting. Most minds are open books to me. Yours has locks." A smile touched her lips. "I do enjoy a challenge." "I'm just here to deliver a package," Riven said, reaching for the artifact. "Then I'm gone." Her smile faded as she saw the crystal in his hand. "You have no idea what you're carrying, do you?" "Not my business to know." Lyra stepped closer, her presence electric in the frozen air. "It's called a resonance key, and it just became very much your business." Riven Talos. The way she said his name, his real name, not the alias he'd been using, sent a chill through him that had nothing to do with the cold. "You can't hide from me," she whispered. "None of us can hide anymore. Retry UB2 to 5 parts. I'll continue with parts 2 through 5 of the story." The Memory Keeper. The main dome of the research station hummed with quiet energy as Lyra led Riven through a maze of abandoned equipment and makeshift living spaces. Crystal formations grew from the walls, catching light in hypnotic patterns. "This was once the premier neurological research facility in the quadrant," she explained, her voice echoing slightly in the cavernous space, "before they discovered what empaths were truly capable of." Riven kept his distance, fighting the strange sensation of her presence in his mind. "And what exactly are you capable of?" Lyra's mercury eyes flickered to him, more than reading surface thoughts. We can access memories, emotions, even reshape perceptions. She paused beside a circular platform covered in intricate circuitry. This is what your resonance key was designed for. She placed the crystal shard into a depression at the center of the platform. It pulsed once, twice, then emitted a soft hum that resonated with something deep in Riven's chest. Who sent you to bring this to me? Lyra asked, though her tone suggested she already knew. A broker on Helios Station. Paid anonymously by the Concordat, she whispered. The same organization that wants most of my kind eliminated or controlled. The crystal's pulse quickened, and Riven felt the neural dampener at his temple grow hot, then fail with a small spark that made him wince. Immediately, Lyra's presence flooded his consciousness, not invasive as before, but like warm water filling empty spaces. I'm sorry, she said, genuine regret in her voice. The key accelerates neural connections. It's difficult to control. Images flashed before Riven. A military transport burning in atmosphere, screaming passengers, his desperate attempts to stabilize the craft. His greatest failure, the one that haunted his dreams. You tried to save them, Lyra said softly. You couldn't have known about the structural failure. Stay out of my head, he growled, though there was less conviction in his voice. I can't. Not completely. She stepped closer, her scent like ozone after lightning. But I can show you mine in return. Equivalence. Before he could protest, memories that weren't his own bloomed in his mind. A younger Lyra surrounded by clinical researchers, being tested and prodded. The fear and loneliness of a child used as an experiment. Years of isolation as her abilities grew too powerful to control. The Concordat doesn't want this key destroyed, she explained, breaking the connection. They want it activated. With it, they can enhance or dampen empathic abilities at will, control my kind entirely. Why tell me this? I'm just the delivery boy, Lyra's eyes softened. Because you're not. The key responds to specific neural patterns. It can only be activated by someone with your exact psychological profile. Someone who carries both deep trauma and extraordinary empathy. Her fingers brushed his hand, sending electric currents up his arm. They didn't just hire you, Riven. They chose you. The facility's alarms suddenly blared to life. Lyra's expression hardened as she checked a nearby terminal. Concordat vessels entering orbit. We have minutes at most. Riven instinctively reached for his sidearm. How did they track us? The key, she said, snatching it from the platform. It's been transmitting since activation. She fixed those impossible eyes on him. I need to know right now, are you with them or with me? For a moment, Riven saw two paths stretching before him. Escape alone, back to the life he knew, or something unknown with this woman who had already seen his darkest memories. My ship's ready to go, he said finally. We'll need the key as leverage. Lyra's relief was palpable, both on her face and in the gentle wave that washed through his mind. There's something else you should know, she said as they raced toward the airlock. Once an empath forms this kind of connection, it doesn't fully close. Part of me will always be with you now. Is that a threat or a promise? He asked. For the first time, she smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her face. I think we're both about to find out. Fractured trust. The wayward echo shuddered as another energy pulse grazed its shields. 3 Concordat pursuit vessels formed a net behind them, methodically cutting off escape vectors as Riven pushed the engines beyond safety parameters. They're herding us toward the asteroid belt, he muttered, hands dancing across the controls. Iris, divert auxiliary power to the rear shields. In the co-pilot seat, Lyra clutched the resonance key, which pulsed in rhythm with her rapid heartbeat. The connection between them had strengthened during their escape, and Riven could feel her anxiety bleeding into his consciousness, along with something else. Determination. And underneath that, a warmth when she looked at him that he wasn't ready to name. I can help, she said suddenly. Empaths can project emotions, influence reactions. If I focus on their pilots, you'd have to drop your shields. Completely to reach that far, Riven countered, executing a tight roll that barely avoided another volley. You'd be exposed, and you'd feel everything, she admitted. Every memory, every emotion. There would be nothing hidden between us. The ship lurched as a direct hit connected. Warning lights bathed the cockpit in crimson. Shields at 23%, Iris announced. Hull breach on Deck 3, contained. Riven met Lyra's mercury eyes. Do it. She nodded, placing her hands on his temples. The resonance key between them glowed brighter, and the mental wall Lyra had maintained between their minds dissolved like mist. The sensation was overwhelming, her entire life flooding into his consciousness. The isolation, the experiments, the few moments of joy she'd found in connecting with other minds. And beneath it all, a desperate longing for someone who wouldn't fear her abilities. Simultaneously, he felt her presence extend outward, targeting the pursuing ships. Her consciousness brushed against the minds of their pilots, projecting confusion and hesitation. The pursuits faltered, their formation breaking. Now, she gasped. Riven didn't hesitate. He cut the main engines, fired maneuvering thrusters in a sequence that sent them into a controlled tumble, then re-engaged at full power on a vector their pursuers weren't covering. The gap was narrow, but it was enough. Within moments, they had broken free, streaking toward the system's outer planets with the concordant ships scrambling to adjust course. As the immediate danger passed, Lyra broke the deep connection, slumping back in her seat. The absence of her, mind intertwined with his left riven feeling strangely hollow. 3 hours to the wormhole at current speed, he said, trying to reclaim his professional detachment. We'll be beyond their jurisdiction in the fringe territories. Lyra was watching him, her expression unreadable. What did you see? When our minds merged? Everything, he admitted. Your childhood on Nahara, the tests, your escape from the research facilities. He hesitated. Your loneliness. And now you understand why my kind is feared, she said quietly. One unguarded moment, and I knew your deepest self. Imagine what someone with fewer ethics could do with such access. Riven's hand found hers across the console. I also felt what it costs you. How you build walls to protect others from your abilities, not just yourself. Her fingers interlaced with his, warm and surprisingly strong. There's something I didn't tell you about the key, she said. It doesn't just amplify abilities. It creates permanent neural pathways between linked minds. What we did back there, it can't be undone. Meaning the connection between us will grow stronger, not weaker. Distance won't matter. Eventually, we'll be able to sense each other across star systems. Her eyes held both wonder and fear. It's forbidden for a reason. When an empath bonds this deeply with anyone, both minds eventually become dependent on the connection. Break it forcibly, and both could be destroyed. The implications settled over Riven like a cold weight. He was now irrevocably linked to a woman he barely knew, a fugitive with abilities that made her the most hunted person in concordant space. Yet beneath the fear, something else stirred. The memory of complete understanding, of being truly seen for perhaps the first time in his life. We'll find a way to manage it, he said finally. First, we need somewhere to hide while we figure out what the concordant really wants with this key. Lyra's expression softened. I know a place, an old mining colony in the fringe where both humans and empaths coexist. If answers exist anywhere, it's there. Her hand tightened on his. But Riven, you need to be certain. After what we've shared, there's no going back to who you were before. He looked at their joined hands, then up to her impossible eyes. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. The burning mind. The mining colony of Vale hung suspended in the crimson nebula like a tarnished coin. Once profitable, now largely abandoned, it had become a haven for those who existed outside concordant law, smugglers, researchers working on forbidden technologies, and a small community of empaths seeking refuge from persecution. 2 weeks had passed since their escape. 2 weeks of riven learning to navigate the strange new landscape of his mind, where Lyra's thoughts and emotions ebbed and flowed alongside his own like a second heartbeat. Focus on the boundary, she instructed, sitting cross-legged opposite him in their rented quarters. The resonance key floated between them, suspended in a containment field. Imagine a door you can open or close at will. Riven concentrated, sweat beading on his forehead. For a brief moment, he felt the connection between them dim to a whisper. Then, it roared back with doubled intensity, bringing a wave of Lyra's surprised pleasure with it. He gasped, opening his eyes to find her much closer than before, her face inches from his. The silver in her irises seemed to move like quicksilver. "You're getting stronger," she whispered, her breath warm against his skin. Most humans would have broken by now. "Maybe I'm just stubborn." Her laugh was soft, intimate. That too. The proximity was intoxicating. Through their link, he could feel her desire mirroring his own, the attraction that had been building since that first moment in the research station. When their lips finally met, the connection between them flared like a supernova. Every sensation doubled, reflected between their minds. His wonder at the softness of her skin, her appreciation of the strength in his arms as they pulled her closer. Past and present blurred as memories intertwined with the moment, creating something entirely new and overwhelming. Hours later, as they lay entwined in the darkness, the resonance key pulsed softly from its containment field, synchronized now with both their heartbeats. "It's changing," Lyra murmured, her head resting on his chest. Adapting to our connection, Riven traced patterns on her bare shoulder, marveling at how his touch created ripples of pleasure that echoed back through their link. "Your contact." In the colony, this scientist, did she have any insights? "Asha believes the key wasn't originally designed as a weapon," Lyra said. "The Concordat repurposed ancient technology they didn't fully understand. Its true function appears to be healing neurological damage, including the kind caused when an empathic bond breaks. So it's a safeguard, not a control mechanism." "Exactly. Which makes what we've discovered invaluable and dangerous." She propped herself up on one elbow, suddenly serious. "The headaches you've been having, they're getting worse, aren't they?" He couldn't hide the truth. Not from her. "Yes, it's the neural strain. Human minds aren't evolved to sustain this kind of connection." Her fingers traced the line of his jaw. "The key can help stabilize it, but we need to understand exactly how it works before—" A piercing alarm cut through the colony's usual ambient noise. Emergency lights bathed the room in pulsing red. "Concordat vessels," Riven said, already reaching for his clothes. Through their link, he felt Lyra's spike of fear, quickly controlled. "They found us. We need to—" She broke off, clutching her head as pain lanced between them. A nosebleed started, the crimson startlingly bright against her copper skin. "Lyra!" He caught her as she swayed. "The key," she gasped. "They're using something to interfere with it, trying to break our connection forcibly." The implications hit him with cold clarity. If the bond shattered without proper dissolution, both their minds could be permanently damaged. "We need to get to the ship," he said, supporting her weight. "The key comes with us." As they stumbled toward the docking bay, colony residents rushed. In all directions, evacuation protocols in full effect. Through windows, Riven could see 3 Concordat battleships moving into position. "They're not just after us," Lyra said, wiping blood from her nose. "They're going to destroy Vale, eliminate all witnesses." The realization crystallized Riven's resolve. "Then we give them something else to chase." He activated his comlink. "Iris, prepare for emergency departure and set the antimatter reserves to detonate on remote signal." Lyra's eyes widened as she understood his plan. "That's suicide." "Not if we time it right." He tightened his grip on her hand. "Trust me, I've outrun explosions before." Her response came not in words, but in the wave of absolute faith that flowed through their connection. Stronger than the pain, stronger than fear. Whatever happened next, They would face it as one mind, one heart. Exactly as the key had intended all along. Beyond silence, the wayward echo screamed through Vale's upper atmosphere. Engines pushed well beyond safety parameters. Behind them, the mining colony grew smaller against the crimson backdrop of the nebula, 3 concordate battleships breaking orbit in pursuit. In the cargo hold, the resonance key pulsed with increasing intensity, no longer contained in its field, but clutched in Lyra's trembling hands. Blood trickled from her ears now as well as her nose. The neural interference from the concordate ships was growing stronger. "Distance to jump point?" she asked, voice strained. Riven checked the navigation console. 4 minutes. We'll never make it before they're in weapons range. Through their bond, he felt her determination crystallize into something harder. "We don't need to outrun them," she said. "We need to show them." Before he could question her, Lyra placed the key against the ship's main communications array. The crystal fused instantly with the metal, sending pulses of energy through the system. The view screens flickered, then stabilized to show the face of a stern Concordate commander. "This is Admiral Vega of the Concordate Security Force. Power down and prepare to be boarded, or we will open fire." "Admiral," Lyra said, her voice suddenly stronger despite the blood staining her collar. "You're pursuing us because you believe the resonance key is a weapon." "You're wrong," the Admiral's eyes narrowed. "Surrender the empath and the artifact immediately." "The key doesn't control empaths," Riven interjected. "It stabilizes neural connections between minds. It's a tool for healing, not domination." "Lies," Vega spat. "We've seen the research. The key amplifies empathic abilities to dangerous levels." "Then let us show you the truth," Lyra said. She placed her hands on the communications array where the key had fused. "Lower your neural dampening field and experience what we've discovered." Warning lights flashed across the console as the battleships moved into firing position. 30 seconds to weapons lock, Iris announced calmly. Riven met Lyra's eyes across the cockpit. In that silent exchange, he understood her plan and its cost. The key could project their connection, show the Concordate exactly what they'd discovered, but the energy required might burn out both their minds in the process. "Together," he said simply, placing his hands over hers on the array. The key flared with blinding intensity. Their connection exploded outward, carrying with it every memory, every emotion they had shared since that first meeting on Nahara. The fear and the wonder, the understanding that had grown between human and empath, the discovery that 2 minds could join without either being consumed. On the view screen, Admiral Vega staggered as the wave hit her. Around her, bridge officers clutched their heads, experiencing for one brief moment the truth of what the key could do. The weapons lock alert fell silent. "What? What is this?" Vega whispered, her composure shattered. "The future," Lyra answered, her voice echoing strangely through the connection. "Empaths and humans working in harmony. The key doesn't subjugate, it bridges, just as the ancients intended." Through the expanded link, Riven could feel the Admiral's shock giving way to understanding. The long-held fears about empathic dominance, carefully cultivated by certain factions within the Concordate, began to dissolve in the face of direct experience. "Stand down," Vega ordered her weapons officers. "All ships, stand down." The connection receded gradually, leaving Riven and Lyra drained but intact. The key, having fulfilled its purpose, cooled to a dormant state, still fused with the communications array. "The Concordate Council will need time to process this," Vega said, her voice subdued. "What you've shown us, it contradicts everything we believed about empathic capabilities." "Then perhaps it's time for new beliefs," Lyra suggested. "The key is one of many artifacts left by the ancients. Together, we can discover their true purpose." After the communication ended and the battleships broke pursuit, Riven set a course away from Concordate space, not fleeing now, but giving them time. Through their bond, which remained strong despite the immense energy they had channeled, he felt Lyra's exhausted satisfaction. "Will it be enough?" he asked, knowing she would understand the question beneath his words. Would this single demonstration change centuries of fear and prejudice? "It's a beginning," she answered, reaching across to take his hand. "The first honest connection between our kinds in generations." The wayward Echo sailed deeper into the nebula, its hull reflecting crimson light like a beacon. Within its walls, two minds continued their silent conversation, no longer separated by neural dampeners or fear, but joined in a harmony that might, in time, show others a new way forward. As Riven gazed at Lyra across the cockpit, he felt the last of his barriers dissolve. Their future remained uncertain, balanced on the edge of revolution and chaos. But one truth had become undeniable. In a universe determined to keep them apart, they had found something worth fighting for: understanding, connection, and that rarest of cosmic phenomena, love that transcended the boundaries of mind and matter, echoing between stars.